Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for this invitation. It's an honor to open this event, and it will be a real pleasure to listen to great people invited to present here today. During our pre-event phone meeting, José Manuel Anta told me the story of Johannes PARIX, the man who has given his name to the School for Spanish book and to this event. Here is the first book printed by PARIX in Spain. Its title was The Synod of Aquila Fuente. I asked ChatGPT to write a short script using this story and adding some details of mine and to generate an illustration for it. The scene is in Segovia in 1472, in the scriptorium of the monastery. Two copying monks are discussing, looking at one copy of the first book ever printed in Spain. Here is the dialogue. Copyist monk: Brother Thomas, I see you are very excited about this printed book you have discovered. But do not rejoice too quickly over this novelty. Apprentice: But Brother Andres, don't you see the progress that this invention represents? Thanks to it, we will be able to multiply copies of the sacred texts and disseminate them much more widely. Precisely, this man, PARIX, he's the one who worries me. With these identically printed books, we are going to lose the soul that each copyist instills in his work. Each manuscript is a unique work. Apprentice: But at what labor cost? Think of the time saved and the number of lives we will be able to reach thanks to PARIX presses. The old monk: Time is nothing when one works for the glory of God. And who is to say that these books, printed by PARIX and his like, will not spread dangerous ideas? Heresy could spread much faster, etc., etc. Not so bad, ChatGPT. Similar conversation took place in the first decade of this century. E-book enthusiasts versus e-book detractors. This will kill that. Do you remember? During the evangelization phase of e-publishing, we had to convince publishers to convert their catalog into e-books and to systematically produce an e-book version of each new title. The people in charge of digital projects have often been considered barbarians. But as you know, we barbarians, we loved books and literature and reading and knowledge diffusion as much as traditional publishers did. We were convinced it was urgent for the book industry to take a closer interest in technology so that they could use their editorial expertise to ensure the quality of the digital reading experience. It was also urgent to transpose the digital ecosystem to the digital ecosystem the characteristics that make books irreplaceable, so that readers have the same confidence in digital books as they have in printed ones. This determination has been translated into specific projects which have helped build an extremely lively digital book ecosystem, as demonstrated by the regular events held here. Publishing digital books is not only about learning to master new production techniques, moving from the page to the screen. It's about learning to evolve in a new context, where a perfect knowledge of the book chain and its many players is no longer enough. Where, very quickly, we were confronted with players of a new type. Amazon was the first to make its presence felt in the publishing world. I remember a presentation of Amazon at Hachette Publishing Group in France in 1999. Most people shrugged their shoulders and said, but how can they imagine that people will one day accept to pay online with their credit card? Amazon became a major player in the online sale of printed books and launched the digital book market with the Kindle. We had to learn that Google wasn't only the creator of a free search engine, but that he was using our data to eat advertising market and scanning our books without any permission in libraries. We had to learn about two-sided business models. We had to learn that Apple was not only a manufacturer of beautiful, expensive, and easy-to-use computers and devices, but that excellence in user experience came at an exorbitant price, the complete lack of interoperability. What would digital publishing be today without the organizations that were created at that time, where professionals are committed to creating the tools that are essential to the smooth running? The IDPF, now swallowed up by the W3C, where those who watch over the EPUB format are active. Editor, where the excellent Chris Senor is at work looking after Onyx, Thema, and Editix. The LIA Fondazione in Italy, focusing on accessibility. Idea Lab, of which I currently have the honor of being president, and which some of you are certainly familiar with. We know how important it is to have places where we can exchange ideas and share experience. In addition to the major international book fairs as Frankfurt, London, Bologna, we now have more targeted events like Reimagine, the Digital Publishing Summit, coming soon, and this one. Let's zoom in on Idea Lab. Idea Lab is a network of professional organizations dedicated to open source software and open standards for the publishing sector worldwide. It's based in Paris and directed by Laurent Lemeur, here in the London Book Fair last month. Idea Lab is much more than a development laboratory. It's a community of practice for the publishing industry in Europe and around the world. Radium LCP is a recent rights management solution with support for different business models, including library lending and bookstore sales. The Idea Lab Profile 2 has been recently released. It offers better protection for book publishers. We have started providing it to reading application developers and a few LCP license providers. Thorium Reader is the EPUB reader of choice for Windows 10 and 11, macOS, and Linux. This Idea Lab application in constant development and aims at becoming a reference for accessing EPUB3 publications in reflow or fixed layout format, audiobooks and visual narratives, PDF documents, and DAISY accessible ebooks. The Radium project. The main goal of this project is to create a modular open source code base with a clean software architecture and documentation, which allows the easy development of reading applications on 3 types of platforms: mobile, desktop, and web. EBELab, Accessible Backlist eBooks, is a collaborative project aiming to provide publishers with correct information about options and costs for remediation to make backlist ebooks accessible. European Digital Reading Lab, Fundación LIA, and the National Library of the Netherlands are partners of this Creative Europe funded project. But who could have foreseen that the impact of the arrival of digital books would ultimately be rather limited, particularly in the field of general literature? Who could have foreseen that digital books would quietly find their place among the other possible manifestations of the work? Its hardback format, its paperback version, its audio version, its digital version. No, the ebook tidal wave hasn't sprung up anywhere. No, printed books have not suffered the same fate as records. No, book readers have not turned away from printed books. What happened is much more global and has not only affected the publishing industry. The development of social networks and cell phones, the time spent with them, the time spent on them, all of this was impossible to predict. Digital books are just one part, albeit a vital one, of this ecosystem in a world deeply transformed by the rise and evolution of social networks. And now, new players are appearing in our media landscape. Companies dedicated to the creation of large-scale language models, feeding generative artificial intelligence tools. These tools make it possible to generate text, code, still or moving images, and music. OpenAI has led the way with a consumer interface for its ChatGPT generative conversational AI, based on the GPT language model, of which a new version is regularly released. Others, such as Anthropic and France's Mistral, also are into the game. The tech giants are not to be outdone. Google with Gemini, Meta with Llama, Microsoft with Copilot. And to make things even more complicated, the tech giants are each taking major stakes in new companies or poaching their best people, as Microsoft has just done by hiring one of DeepMind's founders. Some LLMs, such as Llama or Mistral, declare themselves open source. Open source models are models made available to the public through a free open source license that allows access, use, modification, and distribution of the model, and whose parameters, including weights, model architecture information, and model usage information, are publicly available. Here, Hugging Face, French, the founders are French, platform for accessing such models. When it comes to artificial intelligence, it's not urgent to place oneself among the techno-optimists or the tech skeptics. To embrace the complexity of AI takes time and a lot of books to read. Curiosity will be our friend. Even for us, book people, more familiar with literature than with mathematics, plenty of excellent explanations of what AI is and how it works are available. We'll never be data scientists, but we need some familiarity with the most important concepts and some of the vocabulary data scientists are using. This understanding is precious when the time has come to establish an AI policy for our activity. To be able to move fast, we have to be prepared. It's essential to be constantly aware of technological developments. The constant watch we keep is what enabled the French Publishers Association to start addressing artificial intelligence issues back in 2017 in its annual conference, and to tackle the subject again in the 2020 edition. This year, we launched a series of webinars entitled AI Tuesdays. We decided to invite only professionals likely to share a very real and concrete use of AI-based tools in the cultural field. Our first guest, Étienne Mineur, uses AI among many other tools in his work as a designer. He was one of the first to document his practice and is now a guest speaker at art schools around the world. The second guest was a legal publisher who presented a new AI-based product for its business customers just before this product went on sale. Very interesting, but knowledge is not enough. While we are wondering if we have to start to experiment or if we let our competitors open the road, people around us are already putting their hands with AI fast. Yesterday, this woman we are working with listed the malfunctions she had observed in her building and asked ChatGPT-4 to write a letter to the building manager. She had the intuition that to learn to use AI, you simply had to start using it, just as you can only learn to swim by swimming. Neither theoretical mastery of swimming nor strong opinions about swimming allowed anyone to claim, I can swim. Of course, no one is going to do this on a corporate scale. This first step is valuable on an individual basis. Train yourself to get a generative AI to do something you don't know if it's within its capabilities. Try to accumulate a few flight hours. Experiment text and image generation. It's an excellent way of familiarizing yourself with how these particular tools work. This will greatly facilitate the next step, which can be if you decided to develop some professional uses for these tools, with all due precaution regarding data privacy, security, IP management, and bearing in mind a simple truth. The power of AIs is immense, but they are not infallible. AI tools are capable of remarkable feats, but their results must be treated with discernment and caution. As far as publishing houses are concerned, I'm not going to reveal any secrets, and our speakers today will confirm this by saying that many of them are initiating uses of AI in their company. The various use cases include generation of marketing text, metadata generation, contract analysis, logistical data analysis, and improvement of accessibility, and other. But for publishers, as for all players in the cultural industries, AI is a particular challenge. Ensuring respect for copyright is, for us, an absolute obligation. It's a fact today that the companies who develop the big AI models illegally train them with data sets that contain large numbers of copyrighted digital books. Publishers and authors around the world are mobilizing to demand maximum transparency on training data, and some have taken legal action. We call it upstream transparency. The European AI Act is the world's first AI regulation. The AI Act is not a copyright legislation. Copyright questions were on the table only after the rise of generative AI and become one of the key issues in the final stages of the negotiations. Copyright-relevant provisions aim to facilitate the enforcement of existing rules. The European Federation of Publishers has asked Idea Lab to work on a solution for expressing opposition to search inside their book by publishers, called opt-out, in a machine-readable way. In 2022, Laurent Lemaire presented the results of this mission at the Reimagine conference, right here. This solution is called the TDM reservation protocol. It's a simple way of expressing your refusal to allow your books to be used to train AI without your consent. Without this opt-out, which AI companies are obliged to respect, this training is perfectly legal in Europe. This opposition is not just a means of prohibition, it's also the possibility of authorizing this training through a license. We have recently seen major newspapers sign licensing agreements. For example, the newspaper Le Monde with OpenAI. It's through their ability to generate text, images, or music that the latest generation of AIs have fired people's spirit and made as many people as possible want to try their hand at it. Proof that creative activities fascinate us. However, even if there are examples of automatically generated pseudo-books, we can wonder if artistic creation is the field where AIs will compete with human beings. The primary vocation of AIs is to solve problems. Rather, artists are often there to pose new ones, to bridge conventions, to attribute creative powers to AIs that they don't possess, is to lend them more intelligence than they have, is to accord them intentionality they don't own, and to forget the word artificial hidden behind the A of AI. Some artists have already and will continue to explore the excellent execution capabilities of generative AIs, not to dispense with the effort, but to add this instrument to the tools they already use in their creative process. AI opens an infinite of new possibilities for artists. Using AI tools, they have an extraordinarily powerful means to interact with enormous quantities of data. And literature is an extraordinarily powerful way to interact with the whole world, the real one or invented ones. To those who worry about the future of language and already see themselves in an Orwellian scenario and a language degraded by the omnipresence of calculation, I want to say this. Calculation has been present since the invention of writing 6,000 years ago. First Sumerian tablets were accounting books. Today, everyone's activities are based on a host of digital objects and applications, largely powered by AI. Like everything else in our environment, this, of course, has an impact on our relationship with language, but not necessarily in the sense of formatting and predictability. It can also be diversified and enriched, facilitating the arrival of new voices, the possibility of collective writing, the invention of new genres, and greater visibility for works. Let's mobilize to ensure the availability of sustainable AI models worth of trust. In this way, we'll be able to bet, why not, on the emergence of poetic, joyful, or subversive uses of generative AI. To meet the challenge of our time, won't we need all kinds of intelligence?
Thank you very much, Virginie. Vamos a tener unos minutos para un diálogo con Virginie y luego para que tengáis oportunidades si alguno está, o alguna estáis interesadas en alguna pregunta en concreto para ella, poderla realizar. Creo que tenemos como unos 10 minutos. Yo creo que ha sido muy interesante la presentación. Sí. Yo creo que ha sido muy interesante y, de hecho, la idea de contar con Virginie para esta presentación inicial tenía que ver con poner encima de la mesa pues, una serie de temas de debate y que están condicionando y que están impactando en la realidad del sector de los contenidos digitales. Thank you again, Virginie. I think it was a great presentation, as I told you to the audience, regarding the show, how was the general agenda regarding the digital sector in general, and particularly regarding the artificial intelligence as new disruptive model. In that sense, well, you underline in your presentations what are the risks and opportunities and challenges in some way. What do you think, if you separate the part of the artificial intelligence regarding the creative, generative artificial intelligence and the analytic part of the artificial intelligence regarding discoverability, regarding management of metadata, etc. What do you think are the challenge and opportunity in these two separate levels of the artificial intelligence tools for the book sector, of course?
I think maybe publishers are more worried or anxious about the part generative AI and the challenge it is for authors, for translators, for all the creative parts of book industry. And they are more comfortable with all the analytic parts, and they are already using it to improve their process, their internal process, and the discoverability of books. That is one of our most important problems with the enormous quantity, not only of books, but of contents in general that are competitive with books. So to get the time of the people who have to give a very strong presence of books online, and AI can be a very good help for this.
I like, in that sense, I like very much the kind of initiatives that you are developing in the Syndicat National de l'Édition. You talk about the Tuesday webinars, etc. And this philosophy of text, proof, use different tools. Can you give us some feedback about the experience of these events? And because, you know, I think it's part of our organizations to try to show what is the situation and prove the tools, etc., to the members, to the publishers, and the rest of companies of the sector. What is the experience of the Syndicat?
We have very good feedbacks after this two first edition of the webinar. The third will be next week with a man using IA in schools in Singapore, I think, to as an helper to education things. And I think it was very necessary to do that because very naturally, publishers, the first reaction of publishers whose business is founded on IP is to protect this. And the first reaction when everything new comes is to think about what are the consequences on my intellectual property, because it's my business, and it's for not only for publisher, for all cultural industries. So, but we have to work with two legs. One, protecting things and be very vigilant, because we can't let everybody steal all what our authors are doing to make their business. These people are paying for the electricity they use in their data centers, and they don't say, we'll take electricity for free. But the electricity of the data set, it's our books, and they don't want to pay for this. It's not normal. So that's the first reaction, and it's very important. But we can't only do that, because we can't be afraid and just in the protect, like the wagon around the people, and to protect us, and things will not stop just because we are worried. We all know that. So we have to come closer to understand, to learn, and to be part of what it will become. And the only way is to have the most exact representation of what it is. And it's not possible only with abstract explication. We all thought the best way was to hear testimonies of people using it, doing things. And they are not pro or con. They are doing this with something is interesting, something is complicated, and they share what they learn doing and using.
There is in that sense, there is in France an example of publisher that is doing some steps ahead regarding artificial intelligence. I mean, this philosophy of test and proof and use some tools, and in that sense, you can mention some examples on that?
One of my preferred use case is the use of AI for accessibility, because it's a very big challenge for publishers. And one of the most difficult things to do to be ready for 2025
That's right.
is to create alternative text for all the images that are in our books. And doing this by hand, it's an incredible amount of time. So there are a lot of tries to use AI to do that for us in the best way. It's one of my favorite use cases, but there are plenty of.
Last year in the Reimagine edition, we have a special workshop of one day regarding accessibility and all the initiatives that, and I agree with you that AI could be a good partner in that
Yes,
sense.
not
with
only
tool
for
to-
image, also for structure, or for best structure files, and it can. We are sure it can help a lot.
Okay, so we don't have too much time, but maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes for some questions for the audience, maybe? Somebody want to ask something to Virginie? No, it's clear? Okay, I got one more question, just one more question, because we have these 2 minutes enough. Regarding accessibility, because it's mixed with the European legislation, and you mentioned that, do you think there is a European way to treat these technologies in front of the US way to treat it? I mean, what do you think about that?
I think there is a European way to treat everything different that US are doing, and that's good. We are richer with differences, and each part of the world is different people, different way of thinking. We just have to not to let other people take all the things for us and decide of what is our future. So it's
balance.
It's balanced, yes.
Okay. Thank you again. Merci, Virginie. It was
Thanks
great.
To you.
Your introduction for all the audience and for all the.
Sorry, I didn't speak Spanish. I'm so sorry for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.